Hello everybody, this is Hoa returning to you with Cryptomnesia Chapter 4. I hope that you have been enjoying this story. I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
I remember when we woke up, how your body looked like porcelain in the light. No complaining, we were alright. But then again, I thought we were one of a kind. Oh na na, oh you're good with lies. Oh na na, wish I wasn't right. Now every morning when I wake up, you're laying so close, I gotta push you to your side. I go to work while you still sleep, I don't wanna argue cause it's never worth a fight. Oh na na, oh you're good with lies.
How do you think this is going to help your current situation? Do you honestly think this is the right decision to be making in the state you're in? Her mother asked as she stood by the foot of the hospital bed. Hearing that she'd called off the wedding with Pierce and then suddenly hired a new CFO overnight didn't sit well with her mother. But did she care? She was done caring for ungrateful people. She turned her head toward her mother and sat up, cringing at the sting of her body pain. And what did you want me to do? Sit and just let him ruin me? Her mother threw up her hands. How if I know what is going on with you these days, but you are not yourself, young lady? You need to rethink all of these before making a decision. Why didn't you call me to talk it out? I remember our last conversation with you. It was you telling me to just accept my fate. Since I could not accept it, I did something about it. Francesca cleared her throat, fighting back her tears. Do you know that Luke is a complete stranger, yet he is the only one who knows how I truly feel. He is the only one standing up for me while I am drowning. He is the only one who is protecting me. You as my own mother have left me to die on my own. Her mother's eyes shimmered with tears, and she shook her head in disbelief. Why do you do this to me? What have I ever done but love you? Love me? Francesca asked through a soft voice. When have you ever loved me? When you sold your shares to Pierce? When you told me to endure his abuse? When did you ever love me, Mother? Tell me, because I don't know. And I never felt when you did love me. The door opened and Luke walked in holding a bouquet of roses and a platter of sushi. Her mother looked at him as he walked in and set everything down, and then he turned toward her and extended his hand. We meet again, Callista, he said. Don't even think about trying to be on my good side now, mister. You have managed to break my daughter's mind. Luke smiled and dropped his hand. According to what I've witnessed, she was already broken when I met her. I'm trying to help her fix this. That is something you as a mother should have noticed right away. Her mother dropped her jaw. Excuse me, are you telling me how to be a parent? He shrugged and crossed his arms. If the shoe fits. And then he walked to lean against the wall. Look, I'm not the bad guy here. We all know who is. What I want to know is why are you on his side? What did he give you in order for you to be deaf and blind to all the horrible things he's done to your daughter? Pierce isn't a bad man. Luke laughed, and then he pointed to Francesca. Did he tell you the truth about how she is that way? Look at your daughter. She's here because of him. No one can get that kind of injury unless she's kicked to death. He shook his head and put his hands in his pockets. It doesn't matter. I've taken care of everything. You forgot one important thing when you sold your shares to him. Her mother turned to her. Is this what you want? A man who is not appropriate in anything he does? Francesca smiled and looked at Luke. He's fighting for me, Mother. That's all I need. Her mother turned to him. He owns 25% of the company. You can't do anything about that. Luke smiled and then he replied, He doesn't have a board seat. He can't make decisions, nor can he stop them from happening. Once the board is informed of his wicked ways, they will buy his shares from him, and if he refuses, I can fire him. I'm the new CFO. Francesca has sold me 75% of the controlling votes and shares. I have the ultimate source of power. Pierce watched as her mother sat with her shoulders slumped, with a dumbfounded look on her face. Just 24 hours ago, he was sure he was going to gain everything of hers, and now after listening to her mother, he'd lost it all. Anger roamed through him, and he shoved a vase at her feet. She jumped and scattered behind the couch she'd been sitting in. What the hell went wrong? You promised me I would get controlling votes. Callista shrugged. Pierce, I don't know what happened. She just made these decisions on her own. Then change it for her. I can't. I sold my shares to you. Not enough of them for me to make a bold move. He let out a breath and ran a hand through his hair. You stupid woman. If you hadn't beaten her, this wouldn't have happened. I could give you everything, but why? Why did you put your hands on her? Pierce reached over and grabbed her throat, pushing her against the wall, his eyes seeing red. The anger seemed to be fuming from his nostrils as he squeezed, and she let out a voiceless cry. Perhaps I should teach you the same lesson, too. He shoved her to the ground where she coughed and pushed herself against the wall. The way I see it, you need to turn things around fast, or I would do it for you. And if I have to get my hands dirty, you will be lying in a morgue with a toe tag. She had tears running down her face. I should have listened to her. You're a monster. He bent down and touched her strand. No, the real monster hasn't come out yet. He would kill you if he was here. Francesca set the bowl of soup aside and reached for the napkin, dabbing at her mouth, feeling satisfied with the food. She was feeling a whole lot better, but the stitches were still raw, and if she moved too fast, she felt a deep, lingering pain that caused her to stop breathing. She heard the door open, and when she looked over, her mother strolled in, wearing a turtleneck and carrying a folder. Francesca rolled her eyes and cleared her throat, pulling the blanket up around herself. You look better today, her mother said in a soft voice. Are you still in pain? Francesca gazed at her hands. What do you want? I talked to Pierce. Laughing, Francesca replied, Oh, you came here because he came to you crying? Forget it, Mother. I'm not falling for it again. Her mother nodded and set the folder down on the table. Look, I want you to understand something. All I did, it was because I loved you. I realize that from your point of view, it doesn't look like love, but you have to believe me, it came from something good. She shot her mother a hardening gaze. Save it for the courtroom, Mother. I don't need to hear it. And then she picked up the folder and handed it back to her. I'm not signing anything from you. Her mother's eyes shimmered with tears, and she took the folder. Francesca cleared her throat and looked away. I've been silent long enough, Mom. Once I let go, I'm never turning back. Understand that. If he comes to talk to you, you can tell him I don't care. And he's not getting anything except a boot in the ass. Clearly understood. Her mother turned and left the room as Francesca shut her eyes and sobbed lightly. The pain that was circulating throughout her was enough to keep her from ever going back to the same position she used to be in. She turned on her side and cried into her pillow, pouring her heart out until she felt the exhaustion take over her. She woke in a dream-like state inside a cell, where the sound of torture was heard all around her. She was dressed strangely, and the atmosphere around her spoke nothing but danger. There were iron bars and knives of all shapes and sizes lying on a table. Some were covered in red blood, while others had pieces of flesh dangling. Fear struck her as she ran from the room into a long corridor where darkness invaded her sight. She shouted out for help and heard the sound of laughter roaming around her. Francesca screamed and began running around through the dark, seeing a light from what seemed like a door. She pushed it open and found a man with his head lowered, hung with chains to the wall. His knees were almost touching the ground, and he was bleeding from his body. A strange feeling of being familiar entered her soul as she watched the man before her stir, coming to life. When he lifted his head up and stared at her, she recognized the eyes, and then the sound of an IV machine beeping woke her up. You are ready to go home, the doctor said as he finished scrawling his name on a clipboard. Francesca took a deep breath and smiled as he slid the pen back into his pocket. He was a handsome man with green eyes and a trustworthy smile. You are probably tired of hospital food by now. It's been all right, she said with a smile. I wanted to ask you something. Sure. Do injuries like these, or surgeries like what I had, do they cause some sort of, I don't know, brain malfunction? He laughed and replied, it shouldn't. Why do you ask that? I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. But I've just been having some really strange and odd dreams. Some of them are so vivid, like I've lived it before, and I wake up feeling as if I've just been in that world. I can't remember anything more than the feeling of yearning or longing for someone, and I'm always trapped in a room with this large man who has been hung on chains, and I don't know who he is, but his eyes, I almost recognize him, but each time I wake up and then I'm not really sure. Interesting. Perhaps it's what you've been going through that is developing this into your mind as well. Would you like me to prescribe you some sleeping pills? Maybe it will help you ease back into your normal lifestyle. Shaking her head, Hudson said, No, I'm okay. Thank you, doctor. As he smiled at her and continued to talk about how to take care of her stitches at home, her mind floated back to the dream she kept having, and she wondered where she had seen those pair of eyes before. Wait, just wait, Hudson cried as Luke got ready to walk out the door. He came to block the doorway and laughed as he ran a hand through his hair. Luke checked his watch and then looked up at his friend with an annoyed gaze. Hudson, get out of my way. I have somewhere I need to be. No way, man. Not until we talk this over. I'm your best friend, and you're suddenly having a girl move in with you without me knowing? A girl you've just met. How crazy is this? I don't have time for this kind of talk, okay? Luke shoved him aside, and Hudson shoved him back, standing against the door. Christ, Hudson. Yeah, Christ isn't here right now, Luke. I am. You don't even know this woman. How can you invite her to live with you? What if she's a serial killer? Laughing, Luke replied, I highly doubt that. I've done my research on her, and I know what I'm doing. It's nothing crazy like you think. I'm doing this to protect her. What for? Do you love her or something? And if I do? Hudson's face drained of color. Luke gave out an annoyed breath and patted his friend's shoulder. Look, you won't understand even if I were to explain it to you. Just trust that I know what I'm doing. Nothing may make sense to you right now, but when the time comes, I will explain everything to you. But today, this very moment, I'm late to pick her up at the hospital, so just let me go get her, and I'll do the talking another day. Luke knew. He knew that she had been dreaming about him. He had a glimpse of her dreams the other day. He couldn't quite explain it himself, but when he woke up, it was as if he was in the same room with her. He was now beginning to understand the reasons for everything that had played out. She'd sold controlling shares to him. He had the power over her company, and he was going to make Pierce pay where it hurt. He wouldn't let her live on her own. Knowing Pierce, he would send someone to hurt her, and the last thing he wanted was for her to wind up in the hospital again. Traffic was terrible as he honked at the car in front of him. He looked at his watch. Jesus Christ, he was 20 minutes behind. He pressed the button to call her, and his heart sank when it went straight to voicemail. Francesca, it's Luke. I'm stuck in traffic. I'll be there shortly. Just wait for me inside the hospital. He hung up and honked again as he blew out hot air. What the hell was going on over there? He arrived 40 minutes later, pissed off and barely able to keep his emotions under control. The nurse at the registration desk looked up at him, but when he asked for her name, the smile faded on her face and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. She replied to him, But she was picked up half an hour ago by you. Shit, Luke cried as he dashed out the door into his car. Shit. He picked up his phone, ready to dial when it began to ring. With shaking hands, he picked it up, and the voice on the other line made his skin crawl. Hello, Luke. If you want to see Francesca alive again, you come meet me alone. Otherwise, you'll find her body parts in the ocean. The eyes that stared at her from the dark was none other than Pierce. But she'd seen those eyes in her dreams before. She'd seen those eyes threatening her the same way he was doing right now. Her body was in pain, her arms twisted behind her, and her stitches were bleeding. She was curled on a cold concrete floor. Her voice had been hoarse from crying so much, and the fear was loud in the room. Her mother was sitting across from her with a regretful look on her face as Pierce entered the room, his eyes bright with an ugly intention. He'd taken her from the hospital claiming he'd been Luke, and she walked right into his trap. "Franny," he said as he came to her and knelt down, "I hate to see you in this predicament, but you did this to yourself, really. You had the choice to let me love you, and you chose him." She felt the hot tears roll down her cheeks. "Love? Is this what you think you are giving me? Love?" Smiling, he replied, "What else could it be? How about a nightmare?" Smiling, he lowered his lips to her ears and whispered, "Oh, you haven't seen nightmare yet, my darling. By the time I am through with you, you will wish this was just all a bad dream. He will never want you after I am through with you. Let me go. Let me go and I'll give you anything you want." "Oh, you're going to give me everything I want, all right. But I'm not letting you go. You are part of what I want." He stood up and walked to her mother. "It's time now for you to leave." Calissa stood up and shook her head. "No, the deal was that I get to stay with her." "You've outstayed your visit, Mother," he said with a sneer. "No, I am staying with her." Francesca watched as he smiled, and then he suddenly reached into his pocket, pulling out a small dagger. She felt the urge to scream as her mother turned toward her with fear in her eyes. Pierce grabbed her by the arm and shoved her against the wall, placing the dagger by her throat. "I hate it when people don't do as you're told. You already got to see her. It's now time for you to say goodbye and leave." Her mother nodded and tears streamed down her face. "Can I at least go hug her?" "Sure." He let her go, and Francesca felt her heart break as her mother came to her, her body shaking as she whispered into her ear, "I'm so sorry, Franny. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I never meant to hurt you." And then she reached behind her and pulled the rope holding her hands together loose. "I love you." "Mom! Mother, no!" Francesca cried as her mother stood up to go. But as she walked past Pierce, he turned around and stabbed her in the back. Francesca screamed as her mother went down, and he repeatedly continued stabbing her. She worked out the knots from the rope and grabbed the chair, slamming it into Pierce's head. He fell over and the dagger dropped from his hand. "Mother, get up!" she cried as she helped her mother to a sitting position. But her mother's face had paled, and her eyes were closed. She began crying. "No, no, 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 Mother, no, no, no. Don't leave me behind. You can't do that." She heard Pierce groaning, and she looked around for the dagger. She found it underneath the bed, and just as she grabbed it, he yanked her feet to him. She slashed him across the face, and he brought both hands to choke her. As he squeezed the breath from her lungs, her vision began to fade, and she saw a blurred vision of Pierce wearing an ancient outfit with long hair in a time from long ago. The door burst open, and she saw a tall warrior drenched in blood, his long hair down his back. His eyes. It was those eyes that she had always dreamed about, and yet he was Luke. He pulled Pierce from her, and she let in a breath of life. As she did, she gazed into Luke's loving face and remembered from her dream the same set of eyes as Luke whispered, "Francesca, it's me. It's Luke." In that very moment, she felt her heart being pulled, and a heavy drift of wind knocked her down on her back. She was falling so far down below, and as she opened her eyes, Luke stared at her as he held her in his arms. Never again shall we part from the embrace of each other's arms. Through the loss of time, the travels of this life beyond us, I found you. Your blood soaked my hands once, and I gazed into the dying light of your eyes, calling your name, trying to save you from death's gate. Yet you cannot fight against the darkness, and you asked me to wait for you. In another life, in another time, here I am, sweetheart, and I claim you as mine. He bent down and kissed her. Francesca woke with a scream on her lips as she took in the surrounding before her. She was back in the hospital, and it was dark. Turning to the window, lightning and thunder were loud and vivid before her. She was shaking as she fought to get out of bed. The pain from her stitches made her tremble as she walked to the window and placed her hand on the pane, feeling the cold. The door opened behind her and she turned around, seeing a tall frame walk in, and she knew immediately who it was. When the lightning flashed, it gave away Luke's gentle gaze. "Luke," she whispered. "My mother." He looked away and whispered, "She's passed on." "I'm sorry, Francesca." And then he looked up and began moving toward her. When he reached her, he extended a finger to brush against her cheek. "The moment of finding you has been one that ached inside me for so long. Do you believe in love from a time not of ours? Do you believe that we are tied together from the past? Do you believe you can still remember such deep emotions promised more than 1,000 years ago?" Francesca felt her eyes fill with tears as she let out a soft gasp. "I don't know. I saw—" "What did you see?" he asked as he came toward her, pushing her back toward the wall. He gazed at her from head to toe, examining her in a seductive glance that made her skin crawl with an emotion she'd never felt before. When her back was against the wall, he placed both hands around her, closing in on her. "Tell me, what did you see?" "Did you see me? Huh?" he whispered as he lowered his lips to her ears. "Did you see how I was the only one for you? Did you see how you gave me everything you had and didn't hold back? Did you?" She gasped and turned her face to the side, afraid. "I saw too much." He lifted her chin up to look at him. "Then you should know the answer to my next question." He eyed her lips for a split second. "Do you want me?" With tears burning down her cheeks, she whispered, "Yes, I do. I want you in every way possible that another person can want another." Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 5 will be out shortly.
I remember when we woke up, how your body looked like porcelain in the light. No complaining, we were alright. But then again, I thought we were one of a kind. Oh, na na, oh, you're good with lies. Oh, na na, wish I wasn't right. Now every morning when I wake up, you're late so close, I gotta push you to your side. I go to work while you still sleep, I don't wanna argue cause it's never worth a fight. Oh, na na, oh, you're good with lies. Oh, na na, wish I wasn't right. Whoa, 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 what a lovely mess you made. Nah, nah, nothing's gonna make me stay. Whoa, what a lovely mess you made. Nah, nothing's gonna make me stay. When we began here, it was simple. Now all we do is turn nothing into rain. And I've been acting all insane. I feel you bringing out the worst inside of me. Oh, na na, oh, you're good with lies. Oh, na na, wish I wasn't right. Whoa, whoa, what a lovely mess you made. Nah, nothing's gonna make me stay. Whoa, what a lovely mess you made. Nah, nothing's gonna make me stay. Lovely mess you You don't know when you left your phone. I saw